Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
And we get the back view of him. And I mean, it's just a mega.
52 yards is a long shot. Magnum PI, what we named him. No idea.
Just a magnum.
Yeah, just a magnum.
Come on, Cam, last year, we said probably 150, mid 150.
Yeah.
Same doe from the morning come out with that 9-pointer.
Here steps out this 90-inch 8-pointer. You're like,
I'm like, okay, well, there's still a buck back there grunting.
Yeah.
And then out steps like another 90-inch 8-pointer. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm like, deer, right there.
Yeah, like
and he's already
yards.
30 yards.
Yeah.
He was literally 5 yards from the base of the tree. Could have been, had a buck down at 1:40 in the afternoon, back there deep on public. 3 does come out pretty early. It was like 245, 24-yard shot, sent the combat veteran, and I tell you what, man, dude, it just smoked. We always get so jacked up when the other person kills. It's just almost like we got it done.
Yeah. And when you killed that doe, I was like, hell yeah, man.
And we come down here to Missouri.
I asked Homie one more time. I'm like, is it a good buck? And he goes, yeah, real good, solid buck. I'm like, all right, boom. And the deer just drops. Sure. Super special to me.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast, bringing you back to the hunt and leaving a legacy. Baller Rut.
All right, welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast, coming in your ear holes. I haven't said that for like 2 episodes. Super depressing. We're coming icicles in your ear holes right now, though. -10 in the video mode. My garage has got to be like 30. The breath is intense out here, but homie, you're looking nice and comfy over there.
I am. I'm actually, you know, like them decoration pillows that your wife's gets that nobody ever uses, and they're on the bed. They're like 2 of them take up a king-size bed. It's under my ass right now, and I'm sitting on the floor. Everything's on my kid's PJ Masks table. It's pretty sick.
You gotta get your ass a little higher to get the video.
Yeah,
you gotta get the down shot. Yeah.
I don't want to sit around on the couch behind me because then it'd be just a wall right there. So I'm trying to get some depth here.
You gotta get your arms in there.
Yeah. What?
We got Mike setting in. Also, he's gonna set in for the intro. Then we're gonna get right into some shed hunting talk. So, what's up, Mike?
What's up, buddy? How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Is this your first Zoom call?
Dude, yeah, it is. Besides work, this is my first fun Zoom call. Like,
yeah. I kind of like it. We just started it to get the video content, but it's nice to be able to see you. Just talking on the phone. It adds another element.
Phone.
So, all right. Well, let's get into the people that make this possible. Let's start off with. Do you have that suicide hotline prevention number?
No, I don't, and we're on this call here, so I can't click off.
Oh God! All right, well, we got to get that jotted down.
I know, I do. I need to get that permanently on this program here.
Well, we can definitely do a shout out for Mike down there, man. Huge respect for what you do. You're going to be our active military shout out for this episode. Dude's in the game, hardcore, doing the real shit that he can't even talk about. So huge respect to you, man.
I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. All right. Do you have Last Breath?
Yeah. This week for Last Breath, they are going to be launching a new series on their YouTube channel. It is going to be called Shed Kings. And this YouTube series is going to be going over some really big antlers that people have picked up. And not only are they going to go into the story about the history of the deer, but they're also going to go into like the location, any history they had with the deer. So they're going to be able to go in depth of how and why they luckily come across that shed. So it's going to be a super cool series that they're going to put together here, and it's going to run for quite a while. So be looking for that. I think the first episode is going to drop tomorrow, Thursday night at 7 on their YouTube channel. So if you're not doing anything, be sure to check that out.
Yeah, they just released the podcast, kind of the first guy. I think that's the first episode is potentially Matt. So we'll see, but definitely a good episode. Sheds is what's on everybody's mind right now. So that's why we're doing a shed episode, and we wanted to get Mike on. He said it's been 2 years since we podcasted. Hell, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but cool to be able to chit chat. We talked on the phone a couple times, but it's cool to be able to get back together and record. So I'm going to hit Exodus. This week's trail cam tip of the week. I'm going to do something crazy this year, and I'm going to run a trail cam for turkeys. So, you know that field back there where we should have had the reaper but didn't have?
Yeah.
I'm going to run a mobile back there in that corner and see when if those birds are flying down in that field every morning, or if that was just a fluke, because we didn't hear them there the first 2 or 3 days. So I don't know if it was just the wind. I mean, that's pretty far away from where we're hunting. So I don't know if it was just the wind wasn't blowing or they weren't vocal, but it'd be cool to have a mobile out there to be able to, like, okay, they are flying down. And I've never used a trail cam for anything turkey related. So be nice. I can drive all the way out there and just stake the sucker down and run a mobile and be like, okay, there's no turkeys out here. So we know.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that, Mike?
Yeah, I have, man. You know, we did it. Me and my buddy did it last year, and it might be a little bit more frustrating than deer hunting with mobile cameras, man. I'll tell you that. Yeah, it's frustrating. You'll find out. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping there shouldn't be anything planted in there. I mean, nothing up, sprouted. So I'm gonna put that sucker right in the field, and hopefully I don't get 78,000 blanks. But we'll see.
If you're putting it out, there's a good chance it's going to be 78 million blanks, bro.
Yeah, and then the freaking tractor disc could probably take it out or something.
Yeah. You know that's going to happen.
Just put it on a bush, man. You guys.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's problem solved. The bush cam for turkeys. Get a double beard out there.
Yeah,
I'm going to put it up super high and try to get pictures of them roosting.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the mobile setup out, get up there, hang a cam, be set.
Get you about 6 lone wolf steps and get up there, man. And
yeah. Know exactly when they're there. Be like, oh, they're roosted here. We're ready to go. That's the next level tip right there.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
All right. Speaking of next level deer supplements, they're going to be at the Iowa Deer Classic. They're going to take the drive down. They're going to have a booth set up. So if you're in Illinois and Iowa and you want to meet the guys or look at the product that we've been talking about, here's your chance to be a lot closer and actually get your hands on the product and see what it's about. And we are also going to be there Saturday, March 6th, hanging out with them guys at the booth. So if you're listening to this and you're from mine, you want to come by and say hi, we'll be there, and we'll be hanging out with them guys. Like we say all the time, we've known those guys forever, but we've never met them. At least we've met Mike once, you know what I mean? And we've never met them, and we've talked to them for two and a half years, and I feel like I know them really good, but never met the guy. So excited to go up there and actually meet Nate and Scott and stay in their Airbnb and show them how Illinois guys, get down.
Yeah, Mike knows what's up with that.
Yeah, Mike knows a little bit about that. Last time we were with Mike, we almost got shot and stabbed and all.
You know, I was gonna prevent that. It's all good.
Yeah. That was a different level. I'm not going there. I don't think I can recover from that again.
If you're having flashbacks from the ATA show, then we're doing it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And last but not least, we're going to cover Underwarmer. That's the new product that's coming out to the hunting industry that wanted to get some ads out for you guys to hear. What it is it's a one-piece light, basically like a fitted shirt, and it's got 6 hand warmers in it. And I would definitely like to have it for at work at night. It's something kind of cool. They've been out for a while, but they're wanting to hit the hunting industry now. It's good for 12 hours. You can seal it back up, and they're pretty reasonable. So if a guy had a really late season hunt that he wanted to set all day and try to get on a buck on a food source or something, it would definitely be worth it in my mind. Kind of a product that I didn't even know existed until they wanted to read some ads. So cool to be able to get it out there. You can check that out at underwarmer.com. All right, you guys ready to rip?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, we got Mike on, as you guys see. He runs Harvest Time. We'll talk about that a little bit at the end, but we're gonna do a shed hunting topic today. I got some questions wrote down. A lot of it's kind of for my information, really stuff that I took notes on. 2 years ago, I really broke down my shed hunting a lot, and that was when I found the most. I found the most sheds and the biggest sheds. So it was a good year to actually. That's when I found all the stuff on John's, the piece that we had leased. So I found the 80-inch. I found like the 160 match set. I found the 7-point clean side. I found a lot of big sheds that year. So I jotted down a lot of information from that season. So I want to see how it coincides with what you got going on. But first, just give, you've been 2 years, so give the listeners a quick intro of who you are.
All right, man. So I'm Mike Lemanski, 32 years old. As you guys said at the beginning there, I'm active duty U.S. Army. Just hit 12 years on the 3rd of February, so I've been grinding for 12 years at that, and still making time to chase my passion, which is hunting big whitetails, man, all over the United States.
Right on, man. Like I said, huge respect for you for what you've done and all the, you just told us a little bit of fraction of the shit. I'm like, dude, this guy is a hard ass. We don't even know the true story. And for the people that are watching this, I swear that I'm not vaping over here, because every time it comes back to my video, I'm like, these guys just think I took a big hit off of vape and over here going, there's no vape. It's just cold as shit in here. That's it. So.
Yeah.
Why aren't you cranking the heater? You had plenty of time to run the heater a little bit.
I got the heater ripping over here, dude. It's ripping right here.
Right to my right. I talked to you before, and it looked like you were sitting outside, and it was about negative 20 degrees out there.
It's warmer in here. I got a lot of clothes on right now. I got this is what I'm wearing to work. I'll throw a jacket on and good for negative 10.
I know you've been working out, but you're looking a little thick right now with all them clothes on.
Yeah, it's just all the clothes, man. I got like 6 layers on top. But so first question, and this is like it's like the standard, like, how good of a shed hunter is this guy, but per state, like, we can't, Illinois, Missouri, Kentucky, Ohio, I don't think we can compete with like Nebraska, Kansas. Western Kansas, shit like that, where those deer get down on the river bottom and you can find 60, 70 sheds and they're all herded up in a giant, and then you got mule deer too. It's a different run. So I'm normally between 12 to 18 sheds a year, and I feel like that's a lot for me. But what are you normally around, Mike?
I'm in that 25 to 35 a year. As you guys have seen, as I told you in the past, man, like shed hunting for me is it's a family activity that we do. So it's me and my wife, my 2 kids, and my dog. We get out there and we, get online. We walk through fields and, find as many as we can. And then, we do a lot of spotting from the road. We did that all day today. It came up unsuccessful, but we got, 6 inches of snow yesterday. But yeah, man, so 25, 35. I think 36 is the most I've ever found in a year. But this year we're shooting for 50 this year.
Yeah, you're already off to a great start. So, but yeah, that 35, 36. That's a couple of my years combined. So that's really good. And I feel like I put on an ass load of miles. I walk a lot. I haven't been able to this year, which I was talking to my buddy Nick Brown, and I told him, I said, you know what, it's probably good because about the time that I should be making my second pass, I'm getting burned out on a lot of pieces because I've already walked them once or twice, and I'm thinking, shit, I'm probably not going to find anything. And now I normally would already have my first walks already done and picked up, the first 10, 15% that are dropped. So there might be some more chewed, but I think I'm going to find more sheds this year just because of the fact that I'm waiting. I have to wait because of the weather. And I mean, we got like 10 inches of drifting snow, negative 10. So this weekend will be like the first decent day, but you're still going to have all that snow.
Yeah.
But I've been taking some drives and I know where the deer are herding up. The west side of the public land, homie, was loaded tonight.
Really?
Yeah, probably 40. 35 or 40 deer.
And that thing is a ghost town after September 20th.
Yeah. So you know where all those summer bucks were. I'm thinking somewhere in between where we're getting those summer pictures and that field is where those sheds are going to be. So that narrows it down pretty freaking tight.
Huh.
So that's one thing I want to say, just a tip before we get in depth. And I will see if this correlates with you, but I find a lot of my sheds where I see bucks in summer. So those summer bucks go back to their late winter range and they drop their antlers. So a lot of people are hunting for sheds where they're hunting in the rut and they're not finding a lot, but I go to where we get the pictures in the summer and that's where I find the sheds. So is that kind of the same thing you do?
Yeah, man. So one thing you got to think about, so, you put all these cameras out during the summertime and you get all these big bucks in velvet, you get big bachelor groups of big bucks in velvet. And you're like, oh man, this is so awesome. 2 weeks before season, where they go? They disappear, and I was like, oh man, this buck disappeared, this buck. And then you might get a glimpse of them during the rut. But that's their area. And then they push out to their fall territories once they shed their velvet. And then they push out to their, where they cruise in the rut, which could be, you guys have seen it. I've seen it up to 5, 6, 7, 8 miles. Like you guys had a big buck this year that was moving a bunch of ground a day during the rut.
Yeah, like 3 miles probably. 3 miles a day.
A day,
Yeah.
right? Was he there in the summertime? He could have been, but was he living on there where you seen him all the time? So a lot of guys, they focus in on those early summer pictures, and then they hunt those places in the rut, and they don't see the deer that they were seeing during the summertime. So what I do, just like you said, man, you see those bucks during the summertime in velvet, you see those big bachelor groups, and then it's weird when you come back around this time of year and you start scouting those fields, looking at those fields, and you're seeing some of those bucks or different new bucks because they're on the food sources, right? Because that's what you're looking at in the summertime. It's where you're putting the majority of your cameras, and you're not really focusing too much on the woods at that point. You're watching those bucks in bean fields, on the edge of cornfields, runways to and from bedding and cover, and food. Yeah. So, I'm the same way, man. I find a lot of my sheds, where I see a lot of bucks. Is it the same bucks? Sometimes it is. Most of the time it's not. But I'm finding a lot of those sheds, where I'm seeing them in the summertime.
Yeah, we had one piece of public. We had a 200-inch clean typical that could possibly be sheds out there. And then we got west side that could possibly have sheds out there. So it's definitely some motivation to but there's not a lot. That grassy area in between there, I'm talking, homie?
Mm-hmm.
So, where we had the high camera way up high from those beans right there.
Yeah. Right on the ridge.
To where we were getting the pictures. In between there, that's only like 300 to 400 yards.
Right. And
so
it's when you get the back angle, when you're coming out from where we can hunt and you look up to the north there, that's when I think you really get a good perspective of how short that actually is. Because when you look at it on a map, you're like, holy shit, like they're going from here to here to here. But when you're out there actually walking and you look up there, you're like, shit, that ain't nothing for a deer.
Yeah. So I think where we went back in there on that crap hunt and carried everything around and didn't hang anything.
Yeah.
We need to hit that pretty hard for sheds and then work north up towards that field. Right when this snow comes off, or gets a little less, but
hey,
all right.
Thing you need to take into account is, you get a lot of those bucks in the summertime on camera, and then maybe, like I said, maybe you'll get a couple of them during the rut or once season comes in. But as a big buck grows older, his core area shrinks. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them big bucks, like that buck I hunted all year, number 2, like besides a couple weeks or a month or so in the summertime, he didn't get away from his area. You know what I mean? So if you're on a big buck and you've been on a big buck, a big old mature buck, I'm talking maybe 5+, 6+, those bucks, they're generally not going to go too far because it's almost as they're getting comfortable. I've heard Bill Winke say it and a bunch of other guys say it. Those older bucks sometimes are easier to kill. In my case, not so much as you saw this year. But as they get older, their home core shrinks and they stay to what they're comfortable with, where they've been for 6+ years. And, they've been concealed. They've had the food, they've had the cover. They know where to get out if they need to get out. And, they tend to stay in those areas. So I'll be heading up to my farm in Illinois here and hopefully next 3-4 weeks, depending on what you guys tell me intel wise on the snow drifts and stuff like that. But just to see if that's true, because every time I've got that deer's picture or seen him, he's been within, I'll say 200 yards of where I think he's living. And so we'll see if that's true come shed season. But yeah, I really believe that as a big buck grows older, his core area shrinks and he's not going to stir too far because he knows it works. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Kind of one of those mentalities, you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, well, getting back into the questions here. This is kind of maybe hard to do. I know you walk and ass load and hunt a lot of different areas, but if you could have a roundabout number, how many acres do you think that you shed hunt cover-wise?
Well, I shed hunt a lot of private, and when I get that early season itch, like the past month, if you got an itch, you got to scratch it. So you got to get out and try to put some miles on, see if you got any early droppers. But that's always usually done on public land. So we'll say private between 800 and 1,000 acres that I walk strictly looking for sheds and that I hunt as well. But public, man, there's really no telling, because if I see a patch of green on a map and it's public land this time of year, I'm probably going to walk it. Probably just see what's around, see if I can find a bonus shed or two of a place I haven't been, or maybe looking for that next fall, because this is my favorite time to scout is right now. So
yeah, that's something I feel like a lot of people leave out too. They're out there shed hunting, but I mean, I just don't like to go when there's snow on the ground, because you just can't see. You can't see the scrapes. You can't see the heavy trails from the fall, because you're not looking for shit right now. You're looking for old signs. So that's my favorite time to scout too, is when you get, there's no snow. You go out there, you're like, shit, here's a bunch of rubs. Here's some scrapes. Here's some trails connecting. You kind of put the pieces together. And then another thing I like to do that time of year, when you're shed hunting, if you're covering an ass load of ground, mark those stands where those guys are hunting. Yeah. Mark those stand locations. Be like, okay, whether you mark it on a map or you mark it on your phone or what in your head, just be like, okay, there's a stand set over here. You're supposed to take down your stands in Illinois.
Yeah.
We don't have any stands up to be packing anything, but I would say 75% of people leave their stands up all year round.
That's too much.
Publics around here.
It's too much work. Take them down, put them back. So the kind of caveat what you just said was, this time of year, yeah, it's definitely hard to see those fall, movement areas where deer are moving from bed and cover, food, whatever. I mean, you guys know, just like I know, the rut, I mean, it's so sporadic. You can't – a lot of guys hate hunting the rut because of that. There's bucks moving all over the place. But you can kind of map out kind of what the deer are doing this time of year. So, late season – I love hunting late season because, deer are not bedded too far from food. A lot of times I see, like in Illinois, on my farm up there, is those deer are bedded between 50 and 75 yards, like at most 100 yards away from food. So, I mean, you can see all that mapped out. But on public, absolutely, man, map down those, where you're seeing stands, where you're seeing, trail camera, stuff like that. And, I mean, all of us know you can look at a spot and be like, deer use this. It's not just right now. They use this. They have to use this. And go ahead and plot points in your phone then. But yeah, man, for sure. I mean, this time of year with snow on the ground is tough, because you're seeing deer, desperate deer that are moving to food because they need food because they're so stressed out from this weather. Like what you guys have right now in Illinois. I'm in Tennessee, and this morning it was 8 degrees and we got like 6 inches of snow. You know what I mean? That's going to stress the hell out of a deer. In the South, I kind of consider this the Midwest. I'm right on the edge of Kentucky. I'm the western port of Tennessee and Kentucky. I'm only about, 45 minutes to an hour away from Southern Illinois. But, I mean, it's just stressing deer out, and they're in panic mode. So they're going to go kind of where they need to go, get the direct route to where they need to go to get food, sleep, cover, all that. And that's what they're doing right now. But definitely what you're saying, man, when that snow goes away, you can see it. You can see, ground scrapes, you can see rub lines, you can see trails, you can see it all. And it's like mapped out for you.
Yeah. You got anything to add on that, homie? I know that's a huge, goal of yours is to get out there and scout more this time of year. So.
Yeah, I think with the public lands being, typically very large compared to, a normal 80-acre piece, is you almost need to break it down into different trips. One trip you want to focus on this area. I don't know how many times we go out there and, we're like, all right, we're going to go here. And then, you see some sign and you follow it back and you bump a deer. So you're like, oh, let's go over there. Look at that. And the next thing you know, you used up your 4 hours that you woke up early to, now you got to go home and take care of the kids or whatever. Then you didn't even get to where you want to go. So I think having a plan and prioritizing, if you're going to have to make multiple trips out there and, if you want to go in and scout or just go in and looking for sheds, just prioritize kind of where you want to go and what you expect to do when you're in there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good tip. We get pretty sidetracked.
Absolutely, every time.
What's over the next hill gets us every time. I'm like, one more hill every time. I'm a sucker for that. So here's a question that I don't think a lot of people talk about. This is when I said that I jotted down that whole season, took, an average of my numbers and stuff. So, Mike, how many miles per shed do you think that if you could do the math on average? So not like you go out, you find 3 sheds one day, but like before you covered 3 days of no sheds. So when I did mine 2 years ago, I was 3.9 miles a shed. So, I mean, that's pretty piss poor, I think. I walked a lot with no sheds. So
yeah, but you gotta take into factor what you're walking, your buck density, not just your deer density in that area, Man, that's tough, dude. Putting me on the spot like that. I would say, dude, I mean, I think the best we did last year, as a family, we walked 5-6 miles. We found 4 sheds. So, for the mathematicians out there, go ahead and break that down. But
yeah,
I don't know if you could. I mean, you can put a number on it. I don't know if you could put an average on it. Meaning, depends on the terrain, or not the terrain, but the ground you're walking. I'm talking deer density. I'm talking buck to doe ratio, stuff like that. But I mean, we all know, especially if you're a shed hunter, man. I mean, you got to grind it out. You could walk 15 miles in one day and not find a single shed. Like today, we just drove around. We didn't get out and walk. It was cold. Had the kids, had the dog, and we were just out glassing, looking for sheds. That's another tactic I like to use. I spotting scope or binoculars, and hit real big ag sources, and look out around 300 acres, 200-300 acres, as much as you can with binoculars. And I mean, if I were to put that in distance, I mean, probably walk 10 miles a day without finding anything. You know what I mean? It's one of them things you can't get discouraged. You just got to put your head down, keep moving forward, keep looking. But I mean, you can walk 100 miles without finding a shed if you're looking in the wrong spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there was one day that year that I found 6 sheds in the same day, and maybe 2.5 miles, and it's still equal 3.8, 3.9 miles. So there was a lot of days where a 7-mile day, no sheds. I mean, what did we cover up when we went out on Snake Den, homie? 9 something?
Yeah.
Or we went out on public?
And that was just, but that was all before noon.
Yeah, and no sheds. So you got a 10-mile day there, no sheds.
Right.
So I averaged it out, just how many miles I walked, how many sheds I found, and it was like 3.9 miles. So I just wanted to put that out there. I feel like a lot of people go out, they walk a couple miles, they get discouraged, but literally the next 100 yards could have a match set, and then you could hit a bedding area where there's 2 or 3 singles. I mean, there's no right, like, it's not like a bedding, like I'm going to go to my bedding and drop these. So they just drop them. They don't have a choice. They're just like, oh shit, it fell off. So
yeah, you
can have tactics, but shit can change in a second.
It's like anything else you do, man. Tactics will only take you so far. You know what I mean? It's not, you can't put, I mean, as he just said, I mean, you put in 3 miles, found 6 sheds. What's that? You know, if you go average distance wise on shed count, if you walk 3 miles, found 6 shed, well, hell, that's a shed every 2 miles or 2 sheds every 2 miles. You know what I mean? Or you could go 20 miles, not find a damn thing. So, I mean, a lot of people get discouraged. I'm gonna throw my wife under the bus right now, and she's probably listening to me, but she'll walk. I mean, she's been walking right now with me this whole year, and I'm finding them. She's not. She's like, oh, I just can't find a shed. I can't find a shed. You know, she found a few last year, and it's not about that. You just got to be walking in the right place at the right time. Have the right eyesight.
Yeah, that's another thing, man. That you can walk, and I probably walk past sheds every year, but you got to pick something that you're looking for. And I always look for curve and color. Dude. If I see something off color, I'm like, okay, I got to check that out. If I'm glassing and I see something with a weird curve, I'm like, probably a stick, but I need to get 100 yards closer and check it. But I'm always looking for color and curve. That's my 2 things. And a lot of people, they got different ideas. They're looking for tines, or they're looking for like the white tips. I'm just there's not a lot of things that are light brown in the timber during this time of year, you know. So
a lot of people get tunnel vision on color. Well, if you got a deer that, you know, feeds in open food sources all the time, you got a deer that lives in a cedar thicket, their antlers are going to be different color. Yeah. They're always going to be a different color. This is what I look for right here. You see that weird curve right there? Yeah. That's what I look for. I mean, if his tines are sticking straight up and it's a no doubter, then there you go. But I look for that curve in the main beam. Now, a lot of bucks don't have main beams. I dropped their antlers. I got that. Then I just got to get a little closer. But color kind of throws people off, whether it's sunny or it's overcast. Because on a sunny day, a white antler is going to be freaking bright and probably pretty hard to see because of the way the sun's contrasting on the leaves. You know what I mean? And then, you know, in the dark areas, it might be hard to find a dark antler. So you got to find out what works for you. I know a lot of people take a shed out there, an old shed with them. They throw it out, you know, and look at it, just kind of key their eyes in on what they're looking for. I mean, I've done that before. I don't do that anymore, but
I do that a lot. If I find one and I'm carrying it around, I'll check it out. Yeah, look at it. You know, if I'm like in ag and I'm switching to grass, I'll check it out just to get kind of a reference. But I like cloudy days. Personally, I feel like I can see better in the timber. Cloudy, kind of wet days seems like the antlers kind of have like almost a glisten with the water on them. I found a lot of them when they're kind of wet like that.
Right. So. Yeah, they pop. And then another thing, like how you said, you're looking for the white on the pedicle of the antler. When it's wet like that, that turns into like a yellow color. Even if it has blood. I found one the other day, the night after an ice storm, and there was blood on the pedicle, but it was yellow. The blood was kind of fainted, but if you were looking for that white, you would have saw it.
Yeah, we found that one buck side homie that had like this much of a skull on it. Yeah. So people were like, look for a white pedicle. Hell, it had this much of, you know, brownish skull.
Yeah, exactly.
So you never would have seen that. And it was a dark colored antler in a dark field. We just were close to it. And we had actually walked 100 yards from it on the other side and circled around and had seen it. But like I said, the more you do it, the easier it is to find. And you just got to get in your mind that you're looking for something. Like I said, I do color and curvature. And it sticks with me because there's not a lot of things that have that curve in the woods. And most of the tines are curved. So
it's almost like trying to spot a deer in the woods and you're looking for that hard line in its back. Yeah. There's nothing that you got a, you know, east-west running line in the woods if it's not a deer. So that I'm the same way, man. You get that, you know, that curve of that main beam and sometimes color, if that works for you, sometimes color. But them cloudy days, man, those are days you can see them real well.
All right. So next question here. You're kind of hunting multiple different states. I just shed hunting and I've done quite a bit in Missouri, a little bit in Iowa, but mostly all Illinois. So I'd be interesting to see kind of what your answers are to this. But your top 3 places that you find sheds. If you can name 3 places that you're finding the majority of your sheds, where would that be?
So my number 1 would be a transition area to food, especially this time of year, like I touched back on it earlier, is these deer are not bedding far out to food source, especially when you have this shitty winter conditions. You know what I mean? You got cold blowing, south side of a hill. I mean, if you got north wind, south side of the hill is always real well. But these deer they're not far from food right now. That's their fuel. Like, we hit the gas station for fuel in our vehicles. These deer hit the beans, especially if you got standard beans, or even cut crops or browse. They're not far from it. So I really hit those staging transition areas. We kind of call them staging areas during the early season, October and stuff like that. So they're not far off of food right now. Second, obviously, bedding area. I've actually never found a shed in a bed. I've never found a shed in a bed. Hopefully this year we'll change that. But yeah, I mean, going into bedding areas, usually super thick, thickets, little poplar thickets, stuff like that. Cedar thickets is one of my favorite places to look, because it holds all that heat in, especially if you got a, harsh winter like we got right now. I think a majority of ours we found in transition areas, then cedar thickets, and then what I would consider a bedding area going in or out. Like I said, never found something in a bedding area, but in and out of bedding cover.
Yeah,
I mean, you usually you'll find a few here and there in the actual food, but I feel like I find more in the woods in those transition areas. I think I found one on food this year, and I saw it from the road. I saw it from like 300-400 yards out with binoculars. Walked up on it to get a closer look, and it was laying there. But I mainly focus on those transitions.
Yeah, so I listened to a couple podcasts about sheds, and then a lot of people say that transition zone, and what in my mind, that's where I find probably 90% of mine within 75 yards of the food.
Yep.
And the best areas that I shed hunt are where they have where the farmer got pissed at all the trees and he leaves like a 10-foot patch where he doesn't plant because he can't get his combine close enough, but it's just grass and it's a little taller. And the reason I think that those sheds are there, I think those deer get out of their bedding area, go feed, and then all night they're feeding and then they're bedding and getting that little bitty spot, and then they're getting up and they're feeding and then they're going back and bedding. Yeah. And I think when it's cold, in my mind, this is how I imagine it. They go to that little transition area, that little grass strip or buffer. They bed down, they get up, they shake, stretch, and that's when they're dropping their antlers. Yep. They're going out there and feeding. And a buck might do that 3 or 4 times a night. Feed for 2 hours, go chew its cud. Feed for 2 hours.
Hey, during the daytime.
Yeah, and I think that's where I find 90% of mine is right there in that buffer. I have never found a shed in a bed before either. One thing that's kind of a tactic I do if there is any type of snow is I found them just following trails in the snow. If you don't know the area and you ain't really keen on what you got going on, get on a heavy trail. One of the biggest sheds I've ever seen found, a 93-inch side. My dumb ass said, okay, I'm going to take this edge of this field because that's the prime. I'm going to send my buddy down this hillside and he'll walk this just heavy trail. Boom, 93-inch shed. He yells at the bottom of the hill, I found a giant. I'm sprinting down the hill, and Jared Brody's down there holding a 9-point side, 93 inches. And my dumb ass was like, yeah, you go there, I'll go here. Because I'm thinking I got the money up here. But you never know where those big ones are. And everybody says fence crossing, creek jumping. I found a few there. One thing I have noticed on those creek crossings or fence lines, it's a big shed. I don't think those little bucks have enough momentum weight when they jump to drop a little antler. But I think a big deer got a lot more weight up there. He hits the ground, more momentum. Everyone that I have found that was on a creek crossing at the bottom of a ravine, 93-inch side. Last year I found a big 5 or 6 side with a split 2 heavy antler. Year before that, where he hopped out into a field, I found probably my biggest 4 side ever. So if they're big antler, I feel like you got a chance on those fence crossings, but I've never found a little antler on a fence crossing.
Yeah, just before we got on here, I showed you that one that's in the 80s, or right at 80.
Yeah.
That was on a creek crossing with a gnarly freaking grade. So, he jumped down. If it's a 4-point, how much momentum is that going to take to knock that little But, a big deer, like you said, man, that could be enough to force it off the head. But, yeah, so going kind of back on what we said about scouting this time of year is you use all those trails and stuff you're seeing right now going, from food to bedding to cover, whatever's out there in the ground that you're walking, like, heck yeah, man, jump on those trails and walk them. Even if you know the property, if you don't know the property, absolutely. That's a freaking roadmap for you. But even if you see a trail with a high traffic trail, get on that thing and walk it. See where it takes you. It could open up to freaking shed paradise. You never know. You could get into a bedding area where they decide to shake their, it's been snowing on them all night. They stand up, shake, lay back down, and then there's a freaking antler sitting there. So, yeah, use every tool you have to your advantage.
All right, we'll kind of finish up on this, and then we'll get into where people can find you. But what you hunt public and private, and I got kind of some tactics I use on different, if I'm going each one. But what's a couple differences that you've found from hunting, public land from private land for sheds?
The obvious one, man, is foot traffic. So say today, February 16th, 17th, somewhere in there, 15th, I don't know. You go out to a piece of public and you see boot prints all over the place. There's guys out there that shed hunt. Don't ever think that you're the only one out there looking for antlers. You know what I mean? If you're out there, sometimes you gotta work harder than the rest. It's just like deer hunting public land. Like you guys do. Do you guys set up 200 yards off the road? Absolutely not. But that one guy that's like, oh, I'm going to go out and shed hunt today and see, what I can find. And that dude moseys around that 200 yard from the road line up and down. Okay, well, is that where a big deer? You got to be where the big deer want to be, not where you think they're going to be or think they are. You got to find them. You got to put in work. It's like anything else in this life. You got to put in the hard work to get the reward. Nothing comes easy. If it comes easy, well, you need to try something else because it's not reality. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
you got, and like public ground, I do a lot of glassing. I see where the traffic areas are. Like today, that's what we did. We drove around some public today, and I was seeing where there's a lot of foot traffic. These deer moving in and out of, same thing, coming out to food. And, I mark those down on my phone and, we'll visit them here shortly, but in these kind of weather conditions, it's still snowing right now, so I'm not going to go out there and bump around. But you got to think about the guys that were out there before you. Were they hitting those bedding areas that you saw in the fall time? If they are, you listen to Cody DeQuesto. That's him and his dad's main thing. They go in, they push big bucks out of their bedding areas, and they set up in their bedding areas. Well, this time of year, after on public land, if they've been pressured that hard, are they going to come back? You don't know. So I you got a game plan for stuff after that. Where are they going to go from here? Where's the next thickest place or the next food that they're going to go seek? Where are they going to go from here? And like we talked about, if there's snow on the ground right now, you can kind of map that stuff out. Get on those trails and walk. And not only are you looking for sheds, as you're looking at new ground, you're seeing a whole different aspect of the ground that you've already hunted. So maybe you didn't push as far in the fall or in the summer last year when you're hunting this public land. So, it's kind of a win-win. Are you putting on a lot of miles? Hell yeah, you are. You are moving your ass off. But, that's just one thing. I might take it a little harder than other people, meaning I might just push a little farther. I don't really settle. If I'm out there walking that many miles, I'm not going to settle for nothing. So I'm going to figure out something about that ground. But yeah, man. So just push as hard as you can. Get maybe where you haven't seen before, because it works as a dual purpose. You're shed hunting and you're scouting, seeing what's on the other side for the next year. Private land's a lot different, man. You kind of have an idea, but if you have a giant chunk of land, like our farm in Illinois is huge, and have I seen all of it? No, because what do you do in Illinois? You don't penetrate the woods more than 200 yards on private land from a food source. That's like you're setting yourself up for failure. How you gonna get in? How you gonna get out? You know what I mean? Those deer in the Midwest, they bed right off the food sources all the time. Now, late season, they're bedding even closer. So this gives you an opportunity to walk around, see the ground that you're hunting from a different perspective without thinking about, if I go in here now, am I going to mess up tomorrow morning's hunt? Am I going to mess up this evening's hunt? You know what I mean? So it works as a dual purpose, man. You get intel on spots you've never been before, and you're shed hunting. But I just try mainly private ground. I try to just this time of year learn as much as I can. I'm going to hit the known bedding areas. I'm going to hit the main travel corridors, and then I'm going to expand my search a little bit. But public land, man, I mean, it's tough. You just got to be where deer, like you said earlier, deer going to drop their antlers where they want to drop their antlers. It's not going to be like, well, he thinks I'm going to drop my antler here. I'm going to drop that son of a bitch right here. That's what it's not like that. I wish it was, because I'd be like in the 80s right now. But you just, if deer are pressured, especially public land deer, their only sense to pressure is move, get out of there. It's like, it's like if you're living in a bad part of town, you don't want your kids growing up in that area. What are you going to do? You're not going to keep them there. You're going to move them, get the hell out of there, and go somewhere else, find somewhere else to go. So you just got to expand your search, be deliberate,
Well, a couple tips I'm going to add to that. I do believe that, you got to work a little harder out there, just like hunting them. But I'm going to regret saying this probably, but I think it'd be very valuable to people that are hunting public land. The two things that I do is, if you think about any parking lot anywhere on a public land, there's one way that guys access a food source, or they're going to a bedding area. They're thinking, okay, I'm going to get in this bedding area. I'm going to find the shed. So they're walking one direction, and there's a trail there. Now, what I've done is I'll backdoor that. And I have found more sheds on public backdooring. So, like, here's the parking lot here. I'll walk down 150 yards and go in. And remember when I found that big 5-shy with Grainer on video? 35 yards off the road.
Yeah.
Where no one walks. It's too close to the road. It's not really in a spot where.
Because what was the deer doing?
Yeah, he's in one of those transition zones going to food. You know what I mean? But everybody's doing the circle this way and then coming back to that trail and walking out, and they're missing that little bitty sliver. And this was later in the year. So it's not only good for maybe hitting an edge or something that people are missing, but it's also good to, can I access this way or get out this way, during season. Yeah. So 2 years ago, I hung it up. I found that side right there, 30 yards in on public. And it was in a spot where there's no parking lot there. So I walked down the road like half mile and popped in a spot I wanted to hunt. Remember the really thick bedding area where I said all the sign is all the time, homie? Yeah. Where you try to walk in with a stand on your back and there was no way?
Yeah.
That was right on the no hunting edge right there. So I walked in off the road across from John's, popped in there, pretty much like where we hunted that one set where that old barn and shit is, just to the north of there. And another thing is I don't know how many times that I've got burned where I've walked something and then someone has went in April and walked that and found sheds. Multiple times my buddy's like, oh, I found a shed in this green field. I found a shed in this beans And I'm like, dude, I walked that like 3 times. There's no way I missed that shed, but it's just a late dropper. So those spots that you think get pounded heavy, I feel like a lot of people burn out around that April time, and guys need to just do one last
Sweet.
shit. I'm going to hit this. I'm going to hit this spot. It's probably been hit 5 times, but there might be a loner in there that just dropped.
Yeah.
Jared Brody's done that to me. Tom did that to me on the other public that we hunt, the big green field going towards the west side. He found 3 sheds in that green field, and I had walked it multiple times. He found 3 sheds one day in the low spot, and I walked that low spot 2 or 3 times going back to the other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people probably walk that, but you get to that point where you're getting close to mushrooms popping, and those mushroom hunters are finding those sheds, but he's just making that one last effort to say, hey, I'm going to hit this bullshit stuff on the edge where a lot of people hunt, and they're finding sheds because those bucks are holding late and dropping. So that's 2 tips that I think have helped me find an extra 3 or 4 or 5 during the year that on public that should have been found by other people. Because that 5 side's laying out in the middle of a waterway, and it was half buried in water from the snow melt off. It'd been there forever. The bottom side of it was, really, really dark. It'd been there for a month, laying 35 yards off the road. So, and I'd seen multiple people in there shed hunting. So, just something I want to throw. Do you have any tips, homie, that you think someone might overlook or overthink?
No, not really. This is just kind of your guys' forte here. I'm just trying to absorb it as much as everybody listening is.
Yeah, I know that's something that you've been getting into the past couple of years more is shed hunting. So I always like, I'm
gonna add on to what you said there. This year alone, so we've been walking since like maybe the middle of last week of January, and I have found 5 sheds in places I literally walked last year all the way up until turkey season. I walked probably 10 or 15 times. And there's no way I walked by this and didn't find it. There's no way I walked by this last year and didn't find it. And 2 of them look like they're 2 years old. So that's going back on keying in your eyes, make sure you're looking for the right features, and even going back before turkey season. Because just like you guys, man, as soon as turkey season comes on, if I find a shed turkey hunting, that's bonus. That's like, heck yeah, I wasn't looking, I stumbled across it. But man, just keep your eyes open, and then don't forget to double check it, man. Come back, search those same areas. Don't be afraid to go back to the same place like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times.
If you got the time, man, you never know.
Damn, dude, like I could have swore I know I checked that spot, and then I came back this year, and there it is, just freaking laying there.
Different angle, or sunlight's different or something. I've done that multiple times. I found one that was half chewed that its squirrel had drug into a brush pile.
Yeah.
And that's like, I walked past that thing all hunting season for 3 years, all shed season. And then one year I'm like, what the hell? That thing's been like limbs on top of it and stuff. I'm like, thing's been in there forever. You know what I mean?
Dude,
but
if you remember last year, I found a max set in November, not this last hunting season, the season before. I found a max set in November, 20 yards from one of my stands. Max set it was chewed, it had 1 bite mark in it.
Dang.
Just laying.
You got some nice squirrels down there.
Dude,
squirrels around here don't play.
Yeah,
they do not play. Yeah, right. Look at this. People think that a big shed can't get all the way chewed. Look at that. That's a big shed.
You want me to go grab Tiny's side I found in October?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and show. You got that one set you just found.
Yeah. So
I'll go ahead and show that set, and then me and homie wrap it up, and you can show that tiny set at the end.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give a little story about this. So I've been watching these. Waiting for them to drop, and there was one good deer in there, and I went there. I think it was last weekend, and I drove into the spot, and they were feeding. It was about 2:00 in the afternoon. They were feeding, and you always hear stories of, oh man, I watched this deer drop his antlers right in front of my face, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm fucking bullshit, dude. I'm like, cool. And these deer look at me. All of them look at me. All these bucks are feeding. They look at me. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna walk in there. I'm walking in there anyway. It was public land, didn't really care. I'm walking in there anyway. So I got out, slammed my door. They took a bound, stopped, turned around, looked at me. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna keep walking. They're like 60, 70 yards from my truck. So I start walking at them, and the 4 little ones bound off in the woods, and the bigger one's still sitting there looking at me. So I'm like, whatever, dude, I'm just gonna keep walking at you. So he looked at me, looked in the woods, looked back at me, took one bound, and both his freaking antlers fell off. Like, as soon as his antlers fell off his head, I FaceTime my wife, and I'm like, you're going to witness this. This deer just dropped his antlers right in front of my face. And here he is. Back up a little bit. There he is. Got a big old third main beam.
That third main beam is sick.
I know, it's disgusting. There you go.
Yeah.
Good deer. Hey, but he dropped him right in front of my face. Come here, buddy.
That just goes to show you, maybe like we said, that jar on the big antlers, the more momentum on top of their head. Yeah. Maybe that's why I find more big ones on those creek crossings and stuff. You know, all the 4-1-4 ran off, and none of them lost it, and then that deer jarred and dropped both of them. So,
yeah, just like that big one I got in the garage, man. It was laying in the creeks. He jumped down off that big grade, and it must have been enough momentum to take it off his head. What are you doing? Trying to get that deer?
Go ahead and grab that shed, and me and homie chit-chat here for a second.
I chewed up Illinois shed, and I'll grab that river shed.
All right. Well, do we have anything that the listeners need to know? Is our YouTube getting switched?
Switch to what?
Monday?
Yeah, the video podcast will be coming out on Monday now instead of Sunday. And this will also hopefully be the last podcast that Cody and I do separate. This Friday, we're going to get together and have a normal night of podcasting. So, I don't know how we'll run the Zoom setup, if we'll both be in one or if we'll do 2 different. Not sure exactly. The studio's kind of small to be running more than one camera. So, we're going to get something figured out and, would have a normal sounding podcast. So I'm excited to see that. I don't think I've seen you in person. I was just telling Jesse this today. I don't think I've seen you in person other than for 3 minutes at the gym on a random Friday. And the only time I can think that I seen you was probably a late season hunt at the end of December. Was the last time I seen you.
I'm on this will be my 13th held position, and then had COVID for 15 days.
Yeah.
So, I worked 3 different states and travel a bunch, and you're in a new spot, and I can't go to the gym. We're not hunting. So, and we would have got together tonight, but the stuff that work has us doing is just
bonkers right now.
Humans should not have to do that. You know what I mean? It's just, it's not, it's terrible.
I could probably
that.
What's that?
I said I could probably relate to that.
Oh yeah, you're on a whole nother level than what we had going on, brother. But I was telling my wife, I'm about 12 days without a day off, and most of the days were probably average 14 hours, 12, 13 hours. You know what I mean? Every day. So that wears on a guy, and then the hour drive each way, just like you. It's just rough winter because of COVID and the railroad's bullshit. So it'd be nice to get back together in the same room and have a normal podcast, have more guests on, talk about whitetail shit like we like to do, and crack just a couple beers with you.
Yeah.
I drink the last shit I was drinking was some mango stuff in here. Still got a can on the table. I'm like, shit, that must have been, I don't know when that was.
Hella good.
That shit was fire, though. That shit was fire.
You need to get back on that ATA fucking 2019 grind, dude.
Yeah. All right, let's see this shed.
All right, so here's the river shed.
So you guys that aren't watching this on YouTube are missing out. Just listen to it, man.
There's the creek crossing shed. Big deer. Got a nice little bonus deal going on.
Yeah.
Good deer. So coming off that grade, heavy antler. And then if you guys follow me on social media, you've seen a buck called Tiny the last couple of years.
Yeah.
If you look back I went up to my Illinois farm in December, and Mark, the farmer, actually, he was tilling up some ground, doing some brush hogging. He found Tiny's last year, his left side, and I found his right side in October. And, it's completely chewed up, but, he's missing 6 inches on his G2s compared to his right side or his left side, probably 4 inches on his G3, and probably 5 inches on his G4 and a brow tine. But if you can see that mass there on his main beam, compare that to a beer can.
Yeah.
He's an absolute hammer, dude. I measured his right or his left side. I want to say it was 93 inches, 93 and a half. And
that'd be the shed in the cover art for this video or the podcast, correct?
Yeah. Yep. That's his left side from this year or from last year. And he went downhill big time this year, man. He was an 8 with 2 kick. He's still an absolute mega as an 8-point, but it just goes to show you, man, either maybe a little swingy EHD or I have no idea because he looks healthy as a horse. He did last year. He didn't drop last year, I think, until March 20th. I think we got a picture of him on the 20th of March last year. Both sides, 21st, he dropped. It was within those 5 days, man. And I don't know, man. He's old. And we usually get a lot of his pictures after January all the way up until he drops, and we haven't had a single picture of him since November. So maybe when I go up there and here in about 2-3 weeks, either find him dead, find an antler, or just get a little bit of closure to a deer like that. So we'll see, man. But yeah.
You need to slide through when you come up here. You're only like 2 hours from us, man.
Yeah, I talked to Garrett the other day. I was driving up, doing a all-nighter, driving up to go duck hunting. And I talked to him, and he said him and Grant are talking about, maybe coming down or us meeting up with that, man. We all need to meet up. I'm going to bring the whole family up, the dog. And we're going to do, like a 3-4 day shed hunt. But you guys know I'm always up for a banger evening. So come out, dude. We have to, man, because you guys know, the listeners, they might not, but I'm not going to be hunting. I wasn't going to be hunting turkey season. I was going to be gone for the next year and a half. And my date got pushed to June. So I'll be here through turkey season, but I won't be hunting next year probably at all, which is, I can't even, I've deployed a bunch of times and, had that. And it was rough then, but now, I'm, hanging out with you guys, meeting everybody else. And, we've been pretty good buddies, staying in contact the last 2-3 years. And it's killing me right now. So I got to figure out how I'm going to deal with that. But, see you guys hang out, have families out, maybe have fire, a couple old bush lattes or some bud heads, but yeah, dude, it's going to suck. It's going to be brutal. I'm going to be dependent on you guys to be sending me pictures and stuff. So no more trail cam pictures from me. You got to send them over because I'm going to see what whitetail looks like.
Yeah. Well, like I said, huge respect for you, man. I couldn't imagine, deploying away from your family and away from your passion of hunting, and you're doing it for guys like us over here that just have the freedom to record a podcast and go hunting whenever you can. So I know we say it a lot on this podcast, and it's deep when we say it. We just have respect for it. It's something that we didn't do, and something that you're still doing for us. So
12
huge
years.
respect to you and what you got going, man. But just so people can find you, follow you on Instagram, and follow your video content. Where can they find you at?
Harvest Time Outdoors TV on YouTube. You type in Harvest Time, you type in Mike Lemanski, and it should come up. And then on Instagram, either Mike Lemanski or Harvest Time Outdoors. I come up for both. But, like I've always said it, man, I'm doing a job. You guys are doing a job. That's the way I look at it. I don't think of it as, as people put it on a pedestal or whatever they do. It's a job at the end of the day. It's how I support my family and my hobbies, and my lifestyle of hunting and traveling. I probably do a little bit outside my means, and I got a good family, a good wife that supports it, and we've been together for 17 years now, and married for almost 14, and it's the American dream. You know what I mean? You just get out there and do what you love to do, and support your family while you're doing that. That's all that matters. So I appreciate it when you guys say thanks for your service. I hear that a good bit, and I appreciate all the support, but at the end of the day, in my eyes, dude, I'm doing a job just like every other good American. Maybe not, I'm not going to get political, but,
you're doing a way better job than I am. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
The shit I'm doing is helping someone get their freaking Amazon purchase on time. But the shit you're doing is another level. So,
no, if you're helping someone, you're helping someone. That's the same thing I do. But I appreciate it, boys. Thank you so much for having me on again. We'll do it soon. This is
something I want to throw on. Me and homie are kind of on like a wavelength that's a little different right now for like our lives and shit. And it's hard to explain to people. But one thing I want to add, every podcast, we say do the right thing, but I want to try to get like a life lesson or a saying from each guest that we could kind of put together at the end of the year. So if you could tell the listeners and the viewers one thing that might better them or give them, something to look forward to in life, what do you think? I'm putting you on the spot, but I wanted to put you on the spot because you would have had a hell of a time to think about it. It would have been glorious, and it's supposed to be raw and real. So I'm going to throw this on every listener. Homie, you got to help me remember. But what do you think, man?
All right, I'm going to give you a couple so you can write them down. If you're a family guy, if you got a family, if you got a wife and kids dependent on you, or even a girlfriend, or have your priorities straight. Make sure everything's you guys are both on the same sheet of music when it comes to your lifestyles, your hobbies, and support each other as best you can. Your support. You get support from other people. It means one thing. You get support from your loved ones, significant other, your wife, your spouse, whatever it is. That's on a whole different level, man. So if you are extremely passionate about something like I am for whitetails, my wife hunts too, but she is always the one to be there, when I'm going to this state or I'm going on this hunt, and she's encouraging me. Backlash, along with the passion on either side, that's a recipe for disaster. So make sure you're clear there. Priorities, man. If you're a single guy, get out there, do it as hard as you can, as long as you can. Just get after it. Do everything you freaking can. If you have kids, involve your kids, because who comes after you are gone? It's your kids. It's nobody else. Teach them the ways. All right. Don't hog, especially in the hunting, fishing lifestyle, don't hog that stuff to yourself, dude. It does nothing for you. Do it as when you're a kid, when you're growing up, but remember how it was passed on to you. Pass it on to your kids. Like my son and my daughter were out here cleaning ducks with me yesterday for an hour and a half. I touched 2 ducks and I had 9 ducks with me. You know what I mean? Pass that on to your kids. Do not leave them out. If you have an opportunity to take somebody else's kids, if you're a single guy, you have an opportunity to take a kid hunting, fishing with your friend, your nephew, your niece, whatever it is, get them out in the woods. Don't be selfish. Don't think about yourself. Get them out, pass on that tradition. Just remember your roots, man. That's what it comes down to. You see too many people these days getting away from the roots. I grew up hunting public land in Michigan. I had a lot of private land, but I had a lot of public land with my dad. And as you guys saw, you watched, the video I put out last week. What was the giant part of that video? That was my dad giving back.
Your dad's such a badass dude. So awesome. I'm glad we got to meet him because
Yeah.
he's awesome.
He's a stud, man. But guess where all my roots came from in the hunting and archery industry, and that lifestyle. It came from my dad. So what am I going to do if I end the road right here? That name and that passion's going to die. So pass it on, man. Just pass it on.
All right, man. I'd like that a lot. That's something I wanted to add. I don't want to have a devotional podcast, but I feel like those little tidbits that someone can absorb, you might hit someone a year from now that's listening to this, So definitely a value of putting that out there. But we appreciate you coming on, brother.
I appreciate it, boys. Man, it's been fun, dude. It's been too damn long, I'll tell you that.
All right. Well, like always, try to do the right thing, leave a legacy, start walking, find some sheds, and Whitetail Legacy's out.